Welcome, everybody, back to another Dragon Fireside. I have a very special guest today, Dr. Cleo Amelia. She was one of my very first clients. And as a matter of fact, we started working together when I was still in beta. And after a few months of working together, she was moving so fast that she outpaced me like 10 to 1. So I cannot take any credit for her success. This is something that she's done all on her own. I'm so impressed by this lady, and I want to introduce her to the world. So hopefully you guys will get something out of this conversation. You'll hear how she found success, what she's been doing, what's working, and hopefully you can apply some of these things in your practices as well, or your businesses at least. So Cleo, usually I have people introduce themselves. I never want to miss anything. And I love to ask the question, what's your origin story?
Wow, that's a big one to start with. Well, thank you for that introduction. I mean, how do I top that, right? My origin story. So I'll just give you a little bit of a background of where I was and what I do now. But I, like many other practitioners, I had my own health and wellness journey through different chronic illnesses, autoimmune disease, Lyme disease, all of that. Long story short, found acupuncture, ended up falling in love with it. Went on to get my doctorate of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. While I was in school, I got introduced to functional medicine. This was kind of when nobody really knew what functional medicine was. Like some people did, but it wasn't how it's blown up today on the internet. And I'm very type A, like I love data. I also love, Chinese medicine and I love the beauty of that medicine, but I love marrying the two and I love being able to look at labs and understand what's going on underneath and then also pairing it with Chinese medicine principles. When I graduated, I opened up my own clinic where I did acupuncture, herbal medicine, facial rejuvenation, acupuncture, microneedling, all of that stuff. And I went on to do a certification in functional medicine and then started offering that service into my practice as well. Then, somewhere along the way, I got introduced to the online coaching space. And again, I really knew nothing about it. Personally, it was very foreign to me. I didn't know it was sort of an up and coming thing, but I ended up being connected with a business coach at the time who was teaching people, how to build an online business. And I was like, well, running an in-person practice is very difficult and you're tied to that location. And I wanted to see other possibilities out there of how I could help more people and really build a life that was more in line with how I wanted to live. So I took the plunge, invested in her, and that was almost 2.5 years ago, maybe 2 years and 4 months. And the rate at which my online business has built and scaled is astronomical, like way beyond my wildest of dreams. I closed my in-person practice in December 2025 and went 100% online. Now I run a online functional medicine coaching business. I have 8 practitioners under me. I don't see clients anymore. And then I also business coach for health and wellness practitioners who want to see the same success.
And some of them are killing it too. I have people that have reached out to me about people that signed up through you and that they know their name. They're starting to see them in the online spaces. And so obviously you're teaching this and it's working for other people as well, which is always nice to see. There's a lot of people claiming to have an answer to something that don't. And, when we get real people with real results, that's always worth talking about. So, yeah, that was an excellent introduction. One of the things that I want to ask you, I think that a lot of practitioners, especially in TCM and holistic spaces, are crippled by, let's say, this question of meaning. I think that I get a lot of resistance when I'm coaching people to run ads, do social media, get the word out, talk about what they do. Everybody feels like advertising is something that's gross and that the only way to do it is in a way that doesn't align with your ethics or something like that. I don't know exactly what the sticking point, you probably have some insight to this given
Sure.
the number of practitioners you work with now, but um, how do you contend with how that fits into your code of ethics in terms of being a practitioner that is really focusing a business on abundance and how do you keep the meaning of what you do inside of that?
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, I work with all different health and wellness practitioners, not just acupuncturists and Chinese medicine practitioners, but I work with, nurses and MDs that want to become, functional medicine online coaches. I will say that the Chinese medicine side of it is the most sensitive group of people that are hesitant to go online or hesitant to advertise. And coming from that background myself, like I get it. We have a responsibility in Chinese medicine to keep this medicine alive. Otherwise if we don't, it's going to be a dying medicine. And I reframe it like that because like with the way that the world is going in terms of advertising, AI, social media, Instagram, online coaching, if you do not put this medicine in that space, it will die. So you have to. Because you cannot stay behind everybody else and expect it to be carried on. Like, why not celebrate the fact that this medicine is absolutely amazing and that you can do incredible things through mediums that reach a massive amount of people? And, going to Chinese medicine school, I'm sure you know this too. It's like we learn nothing about business. We learn nothing about advertising. We learn nothing about marketing at all. And I think people have to come to a realization that no matter what industry you're in, Chinese medicine, functional medicine, naturopathic care, MD, real estate, like literally whatever industry that you are in sales. Bottom line. You are trying to sell your service. You are trying to sell the care that you provide, the transformation that you provide for people in any way, shape, or form, no matter what your business looks like, whether that's in person or online. And you have to get good at sales and marketing no matter what,
Yeah.
or else you're not going to
Amen.
win.
Amen. I bring this up a lot because it really stuck with me. I talked to Dr. Andy Rosenfarb, and one of the things he said is that he does support for macular degeneration and kind of eye related disease. And he was treating a lady's daughter, and he was able to, improve her vision and stop the degradation of her vision. And then he started treating the mother as well. And she told him that she could have saved more of her eyesight had she gotten started sooner, but she didn't know that that was even an option, and that it's his job to make sure that people know what their options are. That if you don't take the onus of getting the message out to people, it's not going to get out. And so that, I think practitioners could stand to learn that their voice has just as much power as their hands and their needles. That what you have to say, the space that you hold, the education that you have, like the context of your medicine, is something that people still are lacking a tremendous amount of information about. And if you don't go get it out there, it's not going to get out there, or it's going to be something that's dumbed down. It's somebody that's doing dry needling that's going to try to pretend to know what acupuncture is, and they're the ones that are going to be holding the torch. So yes, preach, preach.
Exactly. It's like if you can create massive change in people's lives and you're not putting it out there, I find that selfish. You know what I mean? Like you share about your gift. You went to school for God knows how long. Like share your gift and let other people know like what you have to offer.
Yeah, don't gatekeep. Don't
Yeah,
gatekeep.
exactly.
Um, okay, awesome. So your first company is called Higher Standard Wellness now. Is that
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
And
I
you
was originally just me, so I was Cleo Amelia Wellness, and then once I started hiring people, I ended up changing the name to reflect more of a brand.
and tell me what you guys do.
Yeah, so we are a functional medicine coaching company. So we don't do any I mean, when I still look at protocols and help the coaches out, like I still try to infuse some Chinese medicine into that, but my coaches themselves don't have much background in Chinese medicine. So we do functional medicine coaching. We look at labs like much more in depth beyond blood work. So think, urinary hormones, gut testing, toxin load, organic acids, things like that, things that are actually going to get to the root cause of why you have all of these symptoms. And then treating things in a very holistic nature, similar to Chinese medicine, like looking at a systems approach and how we can fix that through diet and lifestyle and supplementation, herbs, even mental health, things of that nature. And we have a 4 month and a 2 month option depending on how much support people need. And we pride ourselves in the amount of support that we offer people. It's really a journey. It's not just like, here's your labs, here's some supplements, see you later, but we're taking them on a journey to completely transform their life, not only physically, but in how they show up in relationships, how they show up at work, how they show up for their kids, and allow them to become whoever they want to be by feeling better.
And so when you're doing a telemedicine type of a program, first of all, I think if people haven't already made this connection, if you have an online program, that means that you can serve anybody anywhere. So you're not limited by your geography, right? That solves a big problem for a lot of people. But in terms of price structuring an offer like that and providing value, I think that's where people get kind of lost in what does it actually look like to provide medicine to people without being in the same physical space. So can you describe your program a little bit in terms of how how it's structured and what pricing looks like? You don't have to give your prices, but
Sure.
what it looks like.
Sure. And I can give some examples from, I do have a lot of acupuncturists, Chinese medicine practitioners in my program who don't necessarily go the functional medicine route per se, but they're implementing it strictly from a Chinese medicine lens. And that's one of the things that they have trouble with too. It's like, well, I work on bodies, I stick needles in people, I do moxa, I do cupping, I do gua sha. How can this translate online? And it's like, when we go to school, we learn so much more than that. So much more than just the physical touch of the person. And also, a lot of the things that we learn, people can actually do at home, not needling themselves, but they can do cupping and they can do gua sha, and you can educate on that. So, my program looks a little bit different because there's no Chinese medicine, and you can do functional medicine anywhere. But people that I do have in the program that do offer function or Chinese medicine are teaching people about like looking at their tongue, looking at their own pulse or feeling their own pulse, different like pressure points, acupressure points on the body, like how to eat in a very Chinese medicine constitutional type way, different spices and their flavors and their temperatures, and really embodying what your constitutional type is in your lifestyle, like educating on all of that, like what foods are good for you from that perspective, how to move in a way that is going to be better for your constitution, and really using Chinese medicine principles. So most of the programs I that are in my offer are in my company, or people that I help design offers, are either usually about 3 to 4 months. And you do obviously like a initial intake, which is going to be a much longer call to get a background of what's going on. And then you would meet with them every week or every other week, sometimes once a month. Most programs will have group calls to bring that community in. If you're doing lab work, you would have like a longer lab review with inside of that container as well. And just taking them again on a journey. Like, you're not throwing everything at them at once, but you're identifying what their goals are, what's going on in their body, diagnosing things from a root cause perspective, and really understanding like, okay, where are we going to start? Where are we going to go? And how can we get you to where you want to be in this short period of time, and also give you the tools to sustain that longer term. So in our program, we have a sustainability call at the end, which is basically like, okay, here's, Karen's roadmap for the rest of her life. Maybe not for the rest of her life, but for some time being, where she can follow what she's learned inside of the program, and kind of modify and understand how to actually tweak things when things come up, right? I never say like, oh, you're never going to have bloat again, or, oh, you're never going to, gain a few pounds again. But I want to equip people with the knowledge and the tools where if they notice things, first of all, understanding, what's going on in their body, but also how to adapt to that or modify so that things don't progress into something more chronic.
Pretty cool. And do you have any kind of like digital course component or online community aspect to your coaching, or is it mostly just like Zoom calls and that kind of
Yeah.
thing?
So we have weekly group calls for people. And then we also have a course. It's like a twelve module course with a bunch of different resources. And I keep updating it and adding to it so that people will have that. And they have access to it forever. So it's pretty evergreen, and anything that I learn, like, I throw in there. And then we also have a community platform where people can ask questions or share wins or just come together and share whatever they want inside a community.
Very cool. Okay. So and that's like the structural side of what you do. in terms of how you make sales and find people to join the program, what does that look like?
Yeah, that's a huge system. So it's definitely taken a lot of learning and understanding the online space. If you are going to step into this industry of online coaching, no matter what type of practitioner provider you are, you do have to understand the industry. And it is a whole different industry than in-person practice. So I knew nothing about content or how to make effective content when I first started, but when I first started, I probably had like, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 followers. And within 2 years now, I have 230,000 followers. And I really attribute that to understanding my ideal client, which I'm sure if you've even dabbled in the online space, you've seen that term thrown around. And personally, I teach it a very different way. It's not a demographic. It's not like, oh, Susan, who's 30 with blonde hair from, some suburb in the middle of nowhere who does Pilates every day. Like, I'm not speaking to a demographic. I'm speaking to an overarching transformation of a shared transformation of my ideal client. Like, what are they coming to me for? What are their pain points? And not just like bloating or weight gain, but what are they thinking at 3 a.m.? Like, what do they say to themselves when they look in the mirror? What are those thoughts that they have that they don't share with anybody? Like, that's who you need to be speaking to. Somebody needs to come to your page and be like, wow, she's reading my diary right now. Right. And then understanding where she wants to go from there. How does she want to feel? How does she want to show up in her life? And again, it's not just, I want to lose 20 pounds, but why do you want to lose 20 pounds? What is that going to do for you? Is that going to help you be more confident with your husband, when you guys are intimate? Or is it going to help you get that promotion at work? Like, it's going to do something on a more identity level basis, right? That your ideal client is going to want. And that's what you have to figure out. And that's where your sales system ultimately starts, which is top of funnel content, getting people on your page that are going to understand what you do, how you do it, and how you can specifically help them. If you can't get that point a component right, like no part no part of the sales system is going to work from there.
Right. So you always start at top of funnel. You start with organic content, and do you do ads as well? I'm assuming you do.
Yes, at this point we run ads, which has helped me scale and grow my business, and especially when I started my business coaching offer, I had the capital to run more ads because of my health offer. So, that has helped me to scale that offer as well because I started ads immediately. However, if you are just starting a business, in an online page, I would not recommend starting ads right away. You need to understand organic content because if you start ads and have no online presence or no organic content or don't understand how to have a conversation with somebody in the DMs or even have any sales skills on a call, you're lighting money on fire.
Right. Right. Okay. So that means you guys have to post. You have to
Yeah.
use your phones for what they were designed for, which of course is to show your face to other people. So
Yes.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
People want to see you too. It's like people
Yeah,
buy from people, they don't buy from a brand. They want to know who you are.
exactly. So what do you say to the person that is shy or doesn't feel like it's going to be good enough or that has some kind of resistance to actually planting their flag and showing the world who they are?
Yeah, I mean, I have a personal history of that. Like, I am naturally very introverted. I don't love social media. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh gosh, I love posting. I love talking on camera. Like, that doesn't come naturally to me. But I always try to remind people and also remind myself, like, why am I doing this? And if I can post on social media, which is free, every day of my life and I can get a point across or I can help somebody or I can touch somebody's life or I can have somebody sign up for the program that would probably have never seen my stuff if I wasn't on social media, that's worth it to me.
Yeah, cool.
So
Okay.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. So what you decided to start a second company. This one is called Rooted in Revenue. This is where you work with other practitioners and you help show them how to do what you did with higher standard wellness. What led to that decision? How's it going? And yeah, tell me, I guess the backstory of your second business, and then we'll get into how do you manage two businesses.
Yeah, right? It's a lot. Um, well, over the years, like building my own company, Cleo Amelia Wellness and then Higher Standard Wellness, I really became obsessed with female transformation as a whole. First with health and seeing these physical changes in women's bodies. But then as I started to become more successful in the space, I got more obsessed with female transformation now on a wealth level and not some sort of like egotistical, materialistic, greedy type of way, but just what having your own business and creating impact and having a purpose in life and loving what you do and waking up each day excited to get to your computer to go to work and again helping other people in the process and building generational wealth. I wanted to teach other people what I was able to create online. And a lot of people were asking me, like, how are you doing this? How are you doing this? And I was like, okay, there's definitely a need for this. And I saw with like a lot of business coaches that I worked with that they weren't in the health and wellness space. And while they were good at business coaching, there was an aspect of it missing. It's like you've never sat with somebody who's crumbling, like with their health issues. You've never had anybody on your table or in your office or, again, through Zoom that is like in complete despair with health. And I think there's a disconnect there. Like they don't know how to talk to those types of clients in the same way that a practitioner that has experienced that. So I wanted to make my offer like specifically only for health and wellness people, to learn from somebody who's actually done it and is still doing it, you know? And to really learn like how I've scaled my company from, $0 to we literally just hit a $600,000 month this month.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
in 2.5 years, and how it changes your life completely. Like not only for the people that you're helping, but for your family and for your kids and all of that. And just the joy that comes with it. Like I love my job. Like I love it. And I want other women out there to like love waking up and doing what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. I had no idea you're doing so well. I knew you're doing well, but that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And so in 2 years, so you only started you only started Rooted in Revenue like what, six
In
months ago?
January, yeah. So
Yeah,
5 months ago.
5 months. That's crazy. That's crazy climb in a short amount of time. So obviously it works. It works.
Yeah.
I
I mean, between my 2 companies, we've hit that, and not just revenue, that would be insane.
well, either way,
Yeah.
that's still impressive. Um, This is something that I see in all of my clients. Most of the people that come to me are trying to make more money, and a lot of them don't have enough yet. And the I just noticed that when I'm working with people, you could run near identical campaigns and get completely different outcomes. And I think logistically, there's reasons for that, depending on market size, depending on quality of content, depending on size of audience, like, how good the offers, a lot of things can affect that. But for all intents and purposes, if you're running two similar campaigns to two similar audiences, with the same type of offer and all that, you would expect it to have the same outcome. I think the difference has to do this is an esoteric kind of a thing in the way that you apply your attention. I think that if you have like money blocks, if you think that money is gross, if you think that focusing on sales and trying to increase your revenue is something that isn't aligned with you ethically or something like that, it can literally block the process. And so I have to spend a lot of time coaching people on things like that. But how did you navigate that, and what are your feelings when it comes to that? Am I just talking a bunch of bullshit, or is there something to that?
No, not at all, and this is something I work a lot on mindset within my business coaching container. I mean, some people will come in and be like, "I don't need this mindset work, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "You're probably the person who needs it the most." Um, you know what I mean? But you would be surprised like how much mindset work goes into business coaching. And I have learned this obviously through my own journey, but particularly like when I started becoming successful on my own, I started to have a massive amount of anxiety. Like I always thought, when is the shoe going to drop? When am I going to lose this? When is it all going to be burnt down? And it would plague me. It would be like a cycling hamster wheel that I would be on daily. Like I couldn't sleep at night. My heart was racing at nighttime, and I was like, where is this coming from? And I knew I was self-sabotaging myself. I was like, my growth is stalled because I cannot get off this hamster wheel of I'm going to fail, right? And so I actually did a lot of mental health work. I actually did hypnotherapy for like a year, and it was life changing. And she made me really understand like where these thoughts were coming from. It was like old childhood patterns. You know, I grew up wealthy, but then my mother had a substance abuse issue. And in my late teens, I watched her like lose it all, like literally went from living in a very nice home to she was living on the streets at one point. And, later on when I was having these thoughts building my business, I didn't really connect those two. I wasn't thinking of like, oh, I'm having these thoughts because I watched my mother go through something very similar, but working with somebody on that aspect like really opened my eyes to like, okay, these thoughts are trying to keep me safe, they're trying to protect me, but they're not my own, and I need to move past that. And I think building a business is the biggest mirror that you can hold up to yourself of things that you still need to work on, whether that is past trauma, something that you went through, something that you're completely ignoring, something that you're shutting out. And until you understand that, you will have a cap on your success. There will be roadblocks and self-sabotage where you cannot get through because you are getting in your own way
Yeah.
mentally.
Yeah. Self-sabotage and just sabotage. I have had clients that have sabotaged my work by doing things like shutting things off, disconnecting things, like doing things that prevent me from doing what they're paying me to do. Like that
Mhm.
happens too. So it's if you don't pay attention to that, if you don't take a look inside and try to figure out, what kind of orientation you have energetically, emotionally, psychologically, all of these things, then you don't even know the wake that you're casting in terms of how you're blocking yourself from being able to move forward. I think it's really important, especially for acupuncture and TCM, because it's like I set out to create a business. And you sort of do that with an idea of what you think that's going to look like. And you don't really know, right? You find out as you go, but at least you had volition connected to it. You set out to start a business. When you go to acupuncture school, that is not what we're doing. We're going to be doctors or something like that. We know that there's not a lot of acupuncture jobs when we start, but we don't realize what we really signed up for until you get close to having to sign a lease somewhere or uh, figure out how to get a logo made or you know what I mean? Like you're not thinking in terms of being a practitioner and being a business owner at the same time. And so that in uninformed kind of stepping out into the void and finding yourself in a place of entrepreneurship is something that is kind of a dirty trick. And so I think that causes a type of trauma with practitioners that not everybody either recognizes or does the work to sort of move through. And then when it comes to giving yourself permission to have abundance in your life and being able to actually thrive, I think there's this kind of, moms have this a lot too, right? Where they're giving out so much nurture that they empty their cup for the people that they love. And they don't look at it from a place of, well, if I keep my cup full, how much more can I give kind of a thing. Um, how do you, how do you coach people with regard to that? You've sort of already addressed this to some degree in terms of your own experience, but what are the things that have worked for you to make that shift inside of the people that you talk to?
Yeah, I mean, I think that building a business is honestly the most healing thing that you can ever do. Like out of all the healing things that I've ever done, which are a lot, I've been to lots of different practitioners and done so many different protocols. And, even through my own journey, like I've been able to get like 75, 80% better with, Lyme and autoimmune stuff. But there was always that looming mental health component of, things that I went through as a kid. And I think that stepping into entrepreneurship and now being like a full-fledged CEO, there's a difference between like an entrepreneur where you're still an employee of your business, like you're just learning, your little giraffe like learning to walk, but then later down the road, like as you're starting to scale and you really step into like becoming a CEO and you're no longer in working in the business, but working on the business, coaching your employees, I think that whole journey has just been the most healing thing for me. Like, oh, has opened my eyes to so many self-limiting beliefs and thoughts that I was having in my head. I mean, I can't pinpoint it to like, okay, yes, the hypnotherapy worked, but I can't pinpoint it to anything else of like, okay, this one particular thing helped me get through this. I think it's just the whole journey that I was taken through from graduating, getting my doctorate, opening up my first practice, so, learning how to run an in-person practice, being that sort of entrepreneur, then stepping into the online space, being that sort of entrepreneur, and now running two companies. I just think the whole journey for me was like made me into the person that I was supposed to be, which I
Yeah.
never knew who she was before. I didn't know her, like.
Yeah, I do. I do. I just wish that that this is something that our community gets. Like I see such a deep unmet need when it comes to people on their side, people rooting for them, people that understand the kind of trauma that you can have when you start to do this and you didn't know what you signed up for and you don't really know what you're doing and you don't know where to look to find answers and you're struggling financially. You add that to everything and it can literally it's just a tough road. And I see it every day with people that I talk to. So it makes me so happy to see people that are successful and that are passing it along. I mean, you're literally, um, you're kind of doing something very similar to what I do with Rooted in Revenue. So, that is just so cool to see. And yeah, we need more people like you out there and on the interwebs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I hate to burst people's bubbles, but, like, you'll never know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Every day it's if you are growing, you will never know what you're doing. Each day brings a different challenge. Like, each day brings something like, "Oh, didn't know that." You know what I mean? And you continue to grow your revenue, especially at scale, and grow your business, like, everything is new, and I always tell people that, like, you really have to get uncomfortable, or you really have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and you have to get comfortable with learning new things constantly and making quick decisions and just learning as you go, like messy action. Everything can't be perfect. Nothing is going to be perfect. And in fact, if you wait for things to be perfect, you will never get started. There's a lot of wealth to be made out there helping people. And all you have to do is like be open to learning that process.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So my next question is this is another thing that we hear when I'm talking to practitioners about making courses or doing an online program. I sort of advocate that everybody diversify their income a little bit and not rely entirely on needles. Aside from like, you probably aren't going to want to do 100 treatments a week for the next 10 years, and, uh, hiring additional practitioners that comes with its own logistical nightmare. Having multiple locations, again, that's not for everybody. Being able to at least have some of your income being generated online is something that I think is good to do. But then when we get down to the conversation about that, there's this idea that, oh, it's so saturated. There's too many people doing coaching. There's too many people that have a course like the one that I want to make. There's too much. What do you say? What is your answer to that?
Well, I mean, I just use my own example of like if it was too saturated, there wouldn't be thousands of women inside of my messages every single day looking for services like mine. Okay. And that goes not just for my page, for many other coaches' pages out there. Like practitioners who are in the online space and providers who are in the online space like have many many leads coming in each and every single day looking for these services. Now why they're going to buy from you, again, they're going to buy from you because they like you, they like your vibe, they like your personality, they like your story, they see themselves in who you once were or something like that. And until you get really good again at this messaging component and telling your story, the art of storytelling, the art of marketing, right, then you're going to sit there and continue to say that it's oversaturated. The people that say it's oversaturated, it's just because you don't know how to effectively reach the people that you're looking for.
Right. But they can learn. You can
They
learn.
Yeah. People that say they hate content, it's like, well, you just don't know how to post content. And until you learn, you will continue to hate it. It's just like sales too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, that I think covers kind of all the bases of what I wanted to talk about in terms of the company and what you've been doing and how you've been doing it, and who you've been doing it for, and what is possible. I think you're inspirational. Like you were always a client that like just got shit done. And part of the reason that I had so much trouble keeping up with you is because all of the rest of my clients had to be asked 10 times to do the one thing. Showing up is like a really big thing. Consistency of just showing up, and you definitely have been that kind of person. I'm not surprised at your success. But I am inspired by it, and I love to see you out there killing it. Um, One of the other things that we do sometimes on this podcast is, aside from the business side, we talk about the medicine side. And we've been talking a lot lately about what's going on in the industry, just in terms of the schools are closing down. And insurance is always a rodeo that is hard to navigate for people. We seems to be in this sort of nexus point where, on the one hand, interest in holistic medicine is higher than it's ever been, especially since COVID. I think COVID was a kind of catalyst for people to feel like, oh, maybe these institutions don't have our best interests at heart, and maybe we shouldn't trust everybody with everything they're telling us is true. Um, what are your feelings in terms of the plight of the industry, and do you have an answer to how we make sure that acupuncture and TCM survive?
Yeah, I think this goes back to the point I made earlier. It's like you have to learn where the world is going. If you're not understanding social media and marketing and AI and all of that, like, again, the medicine will die because you're staying in a place that's not going anywhere in terms of how you're getting the word out there. So, if TCM practitioners want to keep schools open and keep people educated on what this medicine can do for people, you have to be loud. Okay. You have to be louder than you are right now, which is, you're very quiet right now as a group, right? We all are. Um, but we have to like get the word out there to people of what this can do. And I actually think there's like a ginormous market for TCM practitioners because there are so many functional medicine practitioners online. And the fact that people can go to a TCM practitioner online and be open to a whole new world of like, oh, this is interesting and new, and I've never heard this before. I think there's so much opportunity for people to create really unique offers and unique brands around Chinese medicine because it's so beautiful and so unique and interesting that you need to take advantage of that. I think that my Chinese medicine practitioners like have the most interesting offers. Like when they present them to me, like when we're going through their offer design, I'm like, I want to do this. Like it looks so cool versus yes, like functional medicine helps people, and obviously I have a functional medicine company, but they're all pretty similar, like the labs and the nutrition and the supplements and things like that. What makes them different is the people that run them, whereas TCM is a little bit more foreign to people and again, just a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that it's really like primed for content, if you know what I mean. Like it's instead of everything having the same color and the same type of logos and the same, you know, way of explaining what it is and what you do and what the unique value is, all of that kind of stuff. TCM affords us the ability to have, dragon iconography and stories that
Yeah.
go back 2,000 years, and it's mysterious, and it's ephemeral, and it's esoteric. Like all of that plays really well to storytelling. Like we have the best story of medicine, and
100%.
potentially even, yeah, even potentially even one of the first, so that is something that the story's already there. You just need to use your mouth, use your voice, and get it out there. I love that. Okay. Is there anything else that we didn't cover, Cleo, that you would like to talk about?
No, not really. I just hope that, other practitioners are inspired by this and know that so much more is possible for them. I mean, Nobody helped me build this business. I literally started from 0 2 years ago, and the amount of success that we've had in such a short period of time, like, it's illogical, but, uh, real, you know what I mean? So I just want people to know that there is other options out there that they can create a life for themselves while helping people that where they feel secure and grounded and can take care of their kids and send them to college and do all the things that they wanted to do versus suffering.
Yeah. Okay. That brings me to one more thing that maybe we can talk about. What was for you, somebody that has had a relatively short pathway to tremendous amount of success, what was the hardest problem to solve or the hardest challenge to contend with in in your business?
Well, I think just stepping into leadership, like I had no idea how to run a company, let alone a team of people. Like I knew how to coach clients, but now I'm really coaching my 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 people in my company, the people that work for me, and how to run a team and how to effectively lead that team. I just knew nothing about that. And the bigger that my team got, the more people it was to manage. So that has been like really eye opening for me. And again, it teaches you a lot about yourself and how you show up and how you react. And then I always tell people this too, like, if I had to give one piece of business advice to anybody out there, it's like you need to learn how to make decisions quickly. You cannot ho hum around. You cannot just sit there and be like, oh, maybe this or maybe that, or I'll do it when this happens and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, you have to make decisions very quickly because the reason that, someone like myself and other people in the industry that have been very successful, why we're so successful is because we've literally made more decisions and failed than you've ever tried.
Right. Right.
And that's the whole point of
Right.
it. Every failure you learn from, every good thing you learn from, but you will never learn if you don't take a step forward.
Yeah. That's a good message. My grandmother was an artist, and when I was a kid, anytime we'd go to my grandparents' house, I'd get to go into her studio. We'd do paint or collage or paper mache or some kind of a thing. But one of the things that she said to me when I was a kid that I still hold with me is that one of the hardest things for an artist to do, and I think there's a parallel for practitioners with this, is you have to be willing to make. Yeah, you give yourself permission to make bad stuff. You
Mhm.
have to be able to create something that sucks. Like if you're not if your expectation is perfection in everything that you do, then you're just never going to do anything. And so, I've started my first business in 2007, and it took a long time, maybe 10 years, before we started to see any kind of success at anything that we did. We felt like we were just faking it till we made it for a solid decade, and that is not something that most people are willing to do, I think. But it is such an important message. You got to fail. You got to take swings until you get it right. And you're not going to get it right if you don't swing enough times. So very simple. Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Exactly.
Um, do you think that this kind of stuff should be a part of the school system? Do you think that we can solve some of the problems that the industry is having at large right now if we incorporated, social media classes or some part of what you teach into grad school?
100%. I mean, I think there should be many courses on building a business from social media to just even like basic business tips, from for starting your in-person practice. And again, like with the way the world is going, like we should have an AI course and we should have different social media platform courses and different marketing courses so that again, people aren't blindsided when they go out there in the world and they're like, I have to do what now? Or I'm gonna not make any money, Like
Yeah.
it is a slap in the face. It's like, but I don't know how to do any of that. I just spent, 5 years of my life trying to help people, and now I have to do what? So I think that it's a disadvantage to really not have that in there, and from the school's perspective, like, if you wanna stay open, you better put some of that curriculum in your schooling because, again, that's the way the world is going.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a scary time. I get like, tech in general is something that a lot of people have apprehension and overwhelm for, especially the pace at which it changes right now with AI and everything else. But the opportunity is so big. And I hope that if people have a takeaway from this conversation, that's what it is. The last question that I wrote down was what gives you hope about where this profession is headed? But let me just ask that. It seems obvious after the conversation we've had, but tell me what gives you hope about where the profession is headed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just seeing more and more TCM practitioners like show up online and create bigger pages. I have a lot of TCM practitioners inside of my container that are doing amazing things, some with 400, 500,000 followers, a million followers that are really trying to get the word out there. And um, I am like grateful that I get to help them do that. Of course, I have people in my container too that are just starting out, which is equally as wonderful. It's like, let's get you into this ecosystem so that you can continue to spread the word. But I just think it's great that more TCM practitioners are actually going this route and trying to be open to what else is out there.
So, well, thank you so much, Cleo. It's been a lovely conversation. If people want to find you and join one of your programs, how can they do that?
Yeah. So my health Instagram is Dr. Cleo Amelia. And then my business coaching Instagram is Cleo Amelia with an extra A at the end.
Right. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.